The starship Horizon drifted through the endless black of space, its metal hull reflecting the distant light of 1,000 stars. Inside, the crew went about their daily work. Some checked the engines, others watched the radar screens. Most were bored. Nothing exciting ever happened on the Orion frontier. Lieutenant Danny Carter sat at his station in the communications room. He was 26 years old, with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had joined the fleet 3 years ago because he wanted to see the universe. So far, he had seen a lot of empty space and eaten a lot of bad food. Danny was from a small town in Ohio. His father fixed cars. His mother taught at the local school. He was not special in any way. He was just a regular guy who happened to work on a spaceship. The alarm changed everything. A red light flashed on his screen. Danny sat up straight and looked at the data coming in. There was a ship nearby. It was damaged and sending out an emergency signal. "Captain Hayes," Danny said into his communicator. "We have a distress beacon, unknown vessel, about 200 kilometers from our position." Captain Laura Hayes was a woman in her 40s with gray streaks in her dark hair. She had been in space for 20 years and had seen many things. But when she looked at the image of the damaged ship on the main screen, even she seemed surprised. "That design," she said slowly, "I have never seen anything like it." The ship was beautiful in a strange way. It was long and curved, like a silver leaf floating in the darkness. But one side was torn open. Fire and smoke poured out into the vacuum of space. "Life signs?" the captain asked. "7, Danny replied. "They are weak but alive." Captain Hayes made her decision quickly. "Prepare a rescue team. We are going over there." Danny did not expect to be chosen for the mission. He was just a communications officer. But the captain wanted someone who could try to talk to whoever was on that ship. So Danny put on his spacesuit and followed the others through the airlock. The inside of the alien ship was like nothing he had ever seen. The walls seemed to glow with a soft blue light. The air smelled like flowers after rain. Everything was smooth and elegant, as if the ship had been grown rather than built. They found the survivors in what looked like a medical bay. 6 of them were lying on beds, unconscious but breathing. They were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like moonlight on water. Their hair was white as snow, and when one of them opened her eyes, Danny saw that they looked like galaxies full of stars. But it was the 7th person who caught everyone's attention. She stood in the center of the room, straight and proud, despite the chaos around her. She wore a dress made of something that looked like liquid silver. On her head sat a thin circle of gold. She was clearly someone important. When she saw the humans, she did not run or hide. She walked toward them with slow, careful steps. Then she spoke, and her voice was like music. "I am Princess Elindra of the Valari Sovereignty." Danny's mouth fell open. She was speaking English. Perfect English, with only a slight accent that made her words sound like poetry. "How do you know our language?" Captain Hayes asked. "We have watched your species for some time," the princess replied. "You are young and curious. We found you interesting." She explained that her convoy had been attacked by raiders. Her guards had fought bravely, but their ships were destroyed. Only this one had escaped, and it would not last much longer. "I need sanctuary," she said. "I need protection from those who wish to harm me." Captain Hayes nodded. "We can take you to Earth. Our government will help you contact your people." But the princess shook her head. Her starry eyes grew sad. "You do not understand. I cannot go back to my people. Not yet. Not like this." She took a deep breath. "According to the ancient laws of my kingdom, a royal who seeks asylum in foreign territory must do so under the protection of a bond. A marriage bond." The room went very quiet. "I need a husband," Princess Elindra said simply. "Someone from your crew. Someone who will stand as my protector until I can find another way. Danny felt his heart beating fast. This was crazy. This was impossible. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not in real life. The princess turned slowly, looking at each member of the rescue team. Her glowing eyes moved from face to face, studying them carefully. Then she stopped. She was looking directly at Danny. "Him," she said, pointing one slender finger at his chest. "I choose the one with the steady heartbeat." Danny felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. "What? Me? Why me?" When your companions entered this ship, their hearts raced with fear and excitement. That is normal. That is expected. The princess walked closer to him, close enough that he could see the tiny stars moving in her eyes. But your heart remained calm, steady. Among my people, that is the mark of a true warrior, someone who does not let fear control them. "I am not a warrior," Danny said, his voice weak. "I am just a communications officer. I talk to people. That is all I do." "Perhaps," the princess said with a small smile, "but you do it with a steady heart." Captain Hayes stepped forward. "Now wait just a minute. We cannot just marry off one of my crew members to an alien princess. There are rules. There are procedures." "I understand," Elindra said. "But I am asking, not demanding. The choice belongs to him." Everyone turned to look at Danny, his fellow crew members, his captain, and the alien princess with galaxies in her eyes. Danny thought about his small town in Ohio. He thought about his parents and his old friends. He thought about how he had joined the fleet because he wanted adventure. Well, he thought to himself, this is certainly an adventure. "Can I have some time to think about it?" he asked. The princess nodded. "Of course. But please do not take too long. The people who attacked us will come looking for me. And when they do, they will not be as polite as I am." As they helped the Valari survivors onto the horizon, Danny could not stop his mind from racing. He had woken up this morning expecting another boring day in space. Now, an alien princess wanted to marry him, and apparently, the fate of who knows what depended on his answer. Just a regular guy from Ohio, he thought. Right. The next 2 days on the horizon were the strangest of Danny's life. The ship that usually felt so big now seemed very small. Everywhere he went, people stared at him. They whispered when he walked past. Some of them laughed. Others looked at him with something like pity. The Valari survivors were given rooms in the medical section. Most of them were still recovering from their injuries. But Princess Elindra seemed perfectly fine. She spent her time walking around the ship, looking at everything with great curiosity. And somehow, no matter where Danny tried to hide, she always found him. "Your technology is fascinating," she said one morning, appearing next to him in the cafeteria. "So rough and mechanical. Yet it works." Danny looked down at his breakfast. It was some kind of gray paste that was supposed to taste like eggs. It did not taste like eggs. "Thanks, I guess," he muttered. The princess sat down across from him. The other crew members at nearby tables immediately stopped talking and pretended not to watch. "You are avoiding me," Elindra said. It was not a question. "I am not avoiding you. I am just thinking." "For 2 days?" Danny sighed and put down his spoon. "Look, you have to understand. Where I come from, people do not just get married to strangers, especially not strangers from other planets. Marriage is supposed to be about love, about choosing to spend your life with someone because you want to, not because of some ancient law." The princess was quiet for a moment. Her starry eyes looked sad. "I know," she said softly. "And I am sorry for putting you in this position. Truly I am. But you must understand my situation as well. She told him her story. Her father, the sovereign emperor, ruled over 300 worlds. He was a powerful man, but also a practical one. For years, he had been worried about the Krath Empire, a violent civilization that bordered their territory. The Krath were warriors. They lived for battle and conquest. To protect his people, the emperor had made a deal. He would give his daughter in marriage to Supreme Commander Vorath, the most feared warlord in the Krath military. In exchange, the Krath would sign a peace treaty with the Valari. "Vorath is a monster," Elindra said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He has destroyed entire worlds for sport. He keeps the skulls of his enemies as decorations. My father knows this. He does not care. To him, I am just a tool for politics." Danny felt something twist in his stomach. "So you ran away." "I ran away," she confirmed. "I took a small convoy and fled into unexplored space. I thought I could find somewhere to hide, somewhere my father and Vorath could not reach me." She laughed bitterly. "I did not expect raiders. I did not expect to lose everything, and I certainly did not expect to find humans." "Why the marriage thing?" Danny asked. "Why can you not just ask for asylum normally?" "Because of our laws. A royal without a bond has no standing in foreign courts. I would be considered property of my father, and any government would be required to return me to him. But if I am married, I belong to my husband. My father has no claim." Danny rubbed his face with his hands. This was all too much to take in. "There is something else you should know," Elindra continued. "The bond is not permanent. It can be broken after 1 year if both parties agree. I am not asking you to spend your life with me. I am asking for 1 year of protection. After that, I will find another way. I will release you from the bond, and you can return to your normal life." 1 year. Danny thought about it. 1 year of being married to an alien princess. 1 year of probably being involved in intergalactic politics. 1 year of his mother asking why he had not brought his wife home for dinner. "What happens if Vorath comes looking for you?" he asked. The princess looked away. "That is the part I did not want to tell you." As if on cue, Captain Hayes's voice came over the ship's speakers. "All senior officers report to the bridge immediately. We have incoming vessels, many incoming vessels." Danny and Elindra ran to the bridge together. What they saw on the main screen made Danny's blood run cold. Ships, dozens of them. They were black and sharp, shaped like knives, cutting through the darkness of space. They moved in perfect formation, like predators hunting their prey. "Krath warships," Elindra breathed. "He found me." A face appeared on the communication screen. It was not human. It was not Valari. It was something else entirely. The creature had gray skin covered in scars. Its eyes were small and red like drops of blood. When it smiled, Danny could see rows of sharp teeth. "Princess Elindra," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Your father is very worried about you. I have come to bring you home." "Supreme Commander Vorath," the princess replied. Her voice was steady, but Danny could see her hands shaking. "I will not go with you." The warlord laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You do not have a choice, little princess. You belong to me now. The treaty has been signed. The wedding date has been set. You will come with me or I will destroy this pathetic human ship and take you from the wreckage." Captain Hayes stepped forward. "This is Captain Laura Hayes of the Earth vessel Horizon. The princess has requested asylum. We will not hand her over." Vorath's red eyes turned to look at her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he laughed again. "Humans, I have heard of your species. Young, weak, barely able to leave your own planet. He leaned closer to the camera. "You have 1 hour to deliver the princess to my ship. If you do not, I will show you what the Krath do to those who stand in our way." The screen went black. Captain Hayes turned to look at Danny and the princess. Her face was grim. "Well," she said, "I think we need to have a very serious conversation. And we need to have it fast." Danny looked at Alindra. She looked back at him. In her starry eyes, he could see fear, hope, and something else. Trust. She was trusting him with her life. He thought about the monster on the screen. He thought about the dozens of warships outside. He thought about how easy it would be to just hand her over and go back to his boring life. Then he thought about his father, who had taught him to always help people in need. He thought about his mother, who had taught him that doing the right thing was more important than doing the easy thing. Danny took a deep breath. "Captain," he said, "I think I have made my decision." The conference room was silent. Captain Hayes sat at the head of the table, her fingers pressed together in front of her face. Around her sat the senior officers of the Horizon, and at the far end of the table, Danny stood next to Princess Alindra. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," the captain said slowly. "If you marry the princess, she becomes legally independent from her father, and Vorath has no claim to her." "That is correct," Alindra replied. "Under Velari law, a bonded royal answers only to their spouse. My father cannot order me to return. Vorath cannot demand me as payment for his treaty. But he can still attack us," said Commander Rick Palmer, the ship's second in command. He was a large man with a thick beard and worried eyes. "Law or no law, those are military warships out there. They can blow us apart whenever they want." "Then we will fight back," Captain Hayes said. Everyone stared at her. "Captain," Palmer said carefully, "we are a diplomatic vessel. We have basic weapon for self-defense. They have 47 warships designed for conquest. The math does not work in our favor." "I know the math, Commander. I also know what is right." The captain stood up and looked around the room. "This woman came to us asking for help. She is running from a monster who wants to use her as property. If we hand her over, we are no better than the people she is running from." "But the crew," Palmer argued. "We have 300 people on this ship. Do we have the right to risk their lives for one person?" "Yes," Danny said. Everyone turned to look at him. He felt his face grow hot, but he kept talking. "My grandfather fought in a war a long time ago. He told me stories about it, about how they freed people from terrible places, places where humans were treated like animals. He said they did it because some things are worth fighting for, even if you might lose." He looked at the captain. "I will do it. I will marry her. And whatever happens after that, at least we will know we did the right thing." Captain Hayes smiled. It was a small smile, tired but genuine. "Thank you, Lieutenant. That is exactly what I wanted to hear." The wedding was quick and strange. Alindra explained the ritual as they prepared. In Velari culture, marriage was sealed by the sharing of light. Both partners would hold a crystal that glowed with their life energy. If the lights merged together, the bond was formed. Danny had no idea if it would work with a human. Neither did Alindra. But they had to try. They stood in the observation deck with the stars as their witness. The crew gathered around them, watching in nervous silence. Outside the windows, the Krath warships waited like hungry wolves. Alindra held out a small crystal. It glowed with soft blue light, beautiful and otherworldly. She placed it in Danny's hands, then wrapped her own fingers around his. "Focus on your heartbeat," she whispered. "Let it flow into the crystal." Danny closed his eyes. He thought about his heart. He thought about the steady rhythm that had caught the princess's attention. He thought about his parents, his home, his hopes for the future. He thought about the scared woman standing in front of him, trusting him to save her life. The crystal grew warm in his hands. When he opened his eyes, the blue light had changed. Now it was mixed with something else. A warm, golden glow that came from somewhere inside him. The two colors swirled together, dancing around each other like old friends. Alindra gasped. Tears formed in her starry eyes. "It worked," she breathed. "It actually worked." The crew cheered. Some of them clapped Danny on the back. Others congratulated the princess. For a brief moment, everyone forgot about the danger waiting outside. Then the communication screen crackled to life. Vorath's scarred face appeared, angrier than before. "Your hour is almost finished, humans. Deliver the princess now or face destruction." Captain Hayes walked to the screen. Her back was straight. Her voice was steady. "Supreme Commander Vorath, I have news for you. Princess Elindra has entered into a legal marriage bond with one of my officers. Under Valari law, she is no longer subject to her father's commands or your treaty. You have no claim to her." Vorath's red eyes went wide. Then they narrowed to thin slits of rage. "You think your pathetic laws will stop me?" he growled. "I do not care about Valari customs. I do not care about human rules. The princess was promised to me, and I will have her, legal or not." "Then you will have to go through us," the captain replied. The warlord laughed. It was cold and cruel. "Through you? You are one ship against an armada. Your weapons are toys compared to mine. I could destroy you with a single command." "Then do it," Danny said. He did not know where the courage came from. He stepped forward, standing beside his captain, facing the monster on the screen. "Go ahead," Danny continued. "Destroy us. Kill every person on this ship. Take the princess by force." He paused. "And then see what happens." Vorath tilted his head, curious despite his anger. "What do you mean, human?" "I mean that if you attack us, Earth will know. Our government will know. And they will not forget." Danny took a breath. "You said you have heard of humans. You said we are young and weak. Maybe that is true. But do you know what else humans are? We are stubborn. We hold grudges. We never, ever give up." He pointed at the warlord. "You might win today, but tomorrow, next year, 100 years from now, humans will still be coming for you. We will remember what you did. We will tell our children, and they will tell their children. And one day, when you least expect it, we will find a way to make you pay." The bridge was silent. The crew stared at Danny with wide eyes. Even Elindra looked surprised. Vorath said nothing. His red eyes studied Danny's face, looking for weakness, looking for fear. He found neither. "You are bluffing," the warlord said finally. "Your species is nothing. You are insects compared to the Krath Empire." "Maybe," Danny agreed. "But insects can still bite, and sometimes the smallest bite carries the deadliest poison." He turned to walk away, then stopped and looked back over his shoulder. "You have ships. You have weapons. But we have something you will never understand." He smiled grimly. "We have nothing to lose, and that makes us more dangerous than any army." The screen went dark. Danny felt his legs shaking. He could not believe he had just said those things to a warlord who could kill everyone he knew with a single order. Captain Hayes put a hand on his shoulder. "That was either very brave or very stupid," she said quietly. "Probably both," Danny admitted. They waited. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10. The Krath warship hung in space, motionless, their weapons still pointed at the horizon. Then slowly they began to move, not forward, backward. The armada was retreating. Nobody spoke. Nobody dared to breathe. They watched as the black ships turned around one by one, and disappeared into the darkness between the stars. When the last warship was gone, the crew erupted in celebration. People hugged each other. Some cried. Captain Hayes slumped against her chair, looking like she had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Danny stood by the window, staring at the empty space where the enemy fleet had been. He did not feel victorious. He felt tired and scared and confused. A hand slipped into his. He looked down to see Alindra standing beside him. "You meant it," she said softly. "Every word you said. I could feel it through the bond. You were not bluffing." Danny shook his head. "No, I was not." "You would really have fought them, even knowing you would lose?" He thought about it for a moment. Then he nodded. "Some things are worth fighting for," he said. "Even if you might lose." The princess squeezed his hand. When she spoke, her voice was filled with wonder. "I think I am beginning to understand why my people find humans so interesting." The days after Vorath's retreat were chaos in the best possible way. Messages poured in from Earth, from the Valari sovereignty, and from a dozen other civilizations that had heard about the standoff. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How had one small human ship scared away the most feared warlord in the galaxy? Danny did not have a good answer. He still was not sure himself what had happened. The Horizon set course for Earth. It would take 3 weeks to get there, and Danny suspected those would be the longest 3 weeks of his life. He was right. The first surprise came 2 days into the journey. A Valari ship appeared, sleek and silver, requesting permission to approach. Captain Hayes agreed, ready for trouble. Instead, they received a visitor. His name was Lord Aldrin, and he was the Emperor's personal advisor. He was old for a Valari, with lines on his glowing face and silver in his white hair. He came alone, without guards, as a sign of peace. "The Emperor wishes to speak with his daughter," Aldrin said, standing stiffly in the conference room. "And with the human who married her." Alindra stood close to Danny. He could feel her tension through the bond, a strange sensation he was still getting used to. "My father cannot order me back," she said coldly. "The bond is legal. He has no authority over me now." "The Emperor knows this," Aldrin replied. "He does not wish to bring you back. He wishes to apologize." Danny nearly choked. "Apologize? He sold his daughter to a monster, and now he wants to apologize?" The old Valari sighed. "You must understand. The Emperor is not evil. He is practical. He saw a threat to his people and made a difficult choice. He did not enjoy it." He looked at Alindra with something like sadness. "He has not slept well since you left. He thought he had lost you forever." "He almost did," Alindra replied. "And not to Vorath. To his own decisions." Aldrin nodded slowly. "This is true, and it is something he must live with. But recent events have changed things." He explained that Vorath's retreat had caused a political earthquake. The Krath military was built on strength and fear. A warlord who ran from a single enemy ship was seen as weak. Vorath's rivals had used the opportunity to challenge him. Now the Krath Empire was fighting itself, too busy with internal conflict to threaten anyone else. "The treaty is broken," Aldrin said. "The Emperor no longer needs to sacrifice his daughter for peace. Because of what you did, the threat has ended." He turned to Danny, studying him with ancient eyes. "The Emperor would like to meet you, the human who made Supreme Commander Vorath run away. He wants to understand how you did it." Danny shrugged uncomfortably. "I did not do anything special. I just told him the truth." "Perhaps," Aldrin said. "Or perhaps you did something the Valari have forgotten how to do." You showed him something he did not expect. He paused. You showed him that you were not afraid to die for what you believed in. That night, Danny could not sleep. He left his room and walked to the observation deck, where the stars glowed against the endless black. He found Elindra already there, sitting in the darkness watching the universe spin past. "Cannot sleep either?" he asked, sitting down beside her. She shook her head. "I keep thinking about what Aldrin said, about how the Krath are fighting each other now. Because of us." She looked at him with troubled eyes. "People are dying because of what we did." Danny had thought about this too. It weighed on him like a stone in his chest. "I know," he said quietly. "But we did not start that war. The Krath were always violent, always fighting someone. If it was not us, it would have been someone else." He paused. "At least this way they are only hurting each other instead of innocent people." "Is that how humans think? That some violence is acceptable if it prevents more violence?" "Sometimes." Danny leaned back and looked up at the stars. "Humans have a complicated history with violence. We have done terrible things to each other. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy whole cities in seconds. Sometimes I am amazed we survived long enough to reach the stars." Elindra was quiet for a moment. "Then how did you survive? If you are as violent as you say, why are you not all dead?" Danny smiled sadly. "Because every time we almost destroyed ourselves, something would change. Someone would stand up and say, 'Enough.' Someone would find a better way." He thought about his grandfather's stories. "We are not good because we are born that way. We are good because we choose to be, again and again, even when it's hard." "And when you faced Vorath, were you choosing to be good?" Danny considered the question carefully. "I was choosing to be stubborn," he admitted. "That is the other thing about humans. We do not know when to quit, even when we should, even when it would be smarter to give up. There is something inside us that just refuses to stop fighting." He turned to look at her. "Vorath is a warrior. He understands fighting. He understands winning and losing. But he does not understand someone who will keep fighting even after they have already lost. That is what scared him. Not our weapons, not our ships. Just the fact that killing us would not make us stop." Elindra was staring at him with an expression he could not read. "Your species is terrifying," she said finally. Danny laughed. "We try. I mean it." She reached out and took his hand, the same way she had during the wedding. "The Villari have watched hundreds of civilizations rise and fall. We have seen empires built on strength, on technology, on wisdom. But we have never seen anything like humans. You are weak and small and young. You should be nothing. And yet somehow, you are everything." She squeezed his hand tight. "Vorath has conquered worlds. He has defeated armies that outnumbered him 1,000 to 1. But when he looked into your eyes, he saw something that made him run. Do you know how incredible that is?" Danny did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just a guy from Ohio who talked into a radio for a living. The idea that an alien civilization found him terrifying was almost funny. But looking into Elindra's starry eyes, he realized she was serious. She was genuinely in awe of him, of humanity, of the strange, stubborn, beautiful disaster that was the human race. "We are also kind of stupid sometimes," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "Did I mention that?" Elindra laughed. It was the first real laugh he had heard from her, bright and musical, filling the observation deck with warmth. "Yes," she said, still smiling. "I am beginning to realize that. Terrifying and stupid. What a combination." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars drift past. Two people from different worlds, connected by a bond neither of them fully understood. The future was uncertain. The universe was vast and dangerous. But for this one moment, everything felt possible. Danny thought about his parents again. He wondered what they would say when he brought home an alien princess for dinner. His mother would probably ask if she ate regular food. His father would probably try to teach her about cars. He smiled at the thought. Some things at least never changed. Earth had never looked so beautiful. Danny stood at the window as the horizon descended through the clouds. Below him, he could see the blue oceans and green continents of his home world. It had been years since he had last set foot on solid ground. He had almost forgotten how much he missed it. The ship landed at the United Earth Fleet headquarters in Geneva. A crowd was waiting for them. Politicians, military officers, reporters with cameras, and curious citizens who had come to see the heroes of the Valari incident. That was what they were calling it now. The Valari incident. It sounded much more official than what it really was. A guy from Ohio making an angry alien run away by being too stubborn to die. Captain Hayes stepped off the ship first, followed by her officers. The crowd cheered for them, waving flags and holding signs. Danny hung back, uncomfortable with all the attention. Then Alindra walked out, and everything went quiet. She had changed into a simple white dress, but she still glowed like moonlight. Her hair floated around her head as if gravity was just a suggestion. She was the first Valari most of these people had ever seen, and they stared at her with wonder and fear. Danny took her hand and walked beside her. If he was going to be married to an alien princess, he might as well act like it. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings and interviews. Earth's government wanted to know everything about the Valari, about the Krath, about the political situation in the galaxy. Danny answered as many questions as he could, though he felt like a fraud. He was not a diplomat or a soldier. He was just a communications officer who had been in the right place at the right time, or the wrong place, depending on how you looked at it. The bigger surprise was the message from the Valari Emperor. True to Aldrin's word, he wanted to establish formal relations with Earth. Not just diplomatic contact, but a full alliance. Trade agreements, technology sharing, military cooperation. Things that humanity had dreamed about since they first reached the stars. And at the center of it all was Danny and Alindra's marriage. "Your bond changed everything," Aldrin explained during one of their many meetings. "The Emperor sees it as a symbol. Two civilizations coming together in the most personal way possible. He wants to build on that foundation." Danny was not sure how he felt about his marriage being a political symbol, but Alindra seemed happy about it, so he went along with it. The months passed. Danny was promoted to commander, a rank he did not deserve but could not refuse. Alindra was given the title of Cultural Ambassador, a position that let her travel between Earth and her homeworld. They were given a house in the countryside outside Geneva, a small place with a garden and a view of the mountains. It was strange, playing house with an alien princess. Alindra did not understand human customs, and Danny did not understand Valari ones. She thought sleeping was a waste of time. He thought eating flowers for breakfast was weird. They argued about the temperature of the house, the color of the walls, and whether humans really needed to watch so much television. But somehow, it worked. One evening, about 6 months after they had first met, Danny came home to find Alindra sitting in the garden. She was watching the sunset, her skin glowing softly in the fading light. He sat down beside her without speaking. "I spoke with my father today," she said quietly. Danny tensed. Relations between Alindra and the Emperor had improved, but they were still complicated. How did it go? Better than expected. He asked about you, about us. She paused. He wanted to know if the bond was real. What did you tell him? Elindra turned to look at him. Her starry eyes were soft, warmer than he had ever seen them. I told him I did not know at first, she said. When I chose you on that ship, I was desperate. You were a stranger with a steady heartbeat. Nothing more. She reached out and touched his face gently. But then you fought for me. You risked everything for me. A person you did not know. From a world you had never seen. She smiled, and Danny felt his heart do something strange. I told my father that the bond started as a convenience, she continued. But it has become something more. Something I did not expect. Danny swallowed hard. Elindra. You do not have to say anything, she said quickly. I know this was not your choice. I know you married me because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted to. When the year is over, I will release you from the bond just as I promised. You can go back to your normal life. What if I do not want to? The words surprised him as much as they surprised her. But as soon as he said them, he knew they were true. I mean it, he said, taking her hand. These past 6 months have been the strangest, most confusing time of my life. I have been chased by warlords, interrogated by politicians, and had to explain to my mother why my wife does not eat normal food. It has been exhausting. He squeezed her hand tighter. But I would not change any of it, because it brought me you. Elindra's eyes glistened with tears, actual tears, glowing faintly with inner light. You really are the strangest human I have ever met, she whispered. Danny laughed. I am the only human you have ever really met. True, but I suspect you would be strange even by your own standards. They sat together in the garden as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. The stars came out one by one, filling the sky with light. Somewhere out there, civilizations rose and fell, wars were fought, and peace was made. The universe kept spinning, vast and ancient and indifferent. But here, in this small garden on this small planet, two people from different worlds held hands and watched the night arrive. So, Elindra said eventually, what happens now? Danny thought about it. He thought about all the challenges ahead. The political pressures, the cultural differences, the fact that their children, if they ever had any, would be the first human Valari hybrids in history. Then he thought about how far they had already come. A scared princess running from a monster. A regular guy from Ohio who just wanted to do the right thing. And somehow, against all odds, they had found each other. I do not know, he admitted. But whatever it is, we will face it together. Elindra leaned her head against his shoulder. Her hair smelled like starlight and flowers. Together, she agreed. Above them, the stars continued their eternal dance. A universe full of wonders and dangers stretched out in every direction. But for Danny Carter and Princess Elindra, the greatest adventure was just beginning. And as any human could tell you, the best adventures were the ones you never expected. That was what made them worthwhile.